Today we're going to look through two papers on the later XBB variants. We're going to look at this paper and this paper. So where we've been, we looked at Delta, Omicron, Omicron subvariant BA.1, Omicron subvariant BA.2. We looked at Omicron subvariant BA.5 and then the BQ.1s. And now we're looking at a random smattering of these XBBs right here. So in this first paper, it's going to be a really quick one. It's a study from India that looked at COVID between December 1st, 2022 and April 8th, 2023, where they were looking at XBB1.16, XBB.2.3, and XBB1.5, where the only thing we're really interested in for this study is this sentence right here, where the mean duration of hospital stays for XBB1.16 cases was 6.6 days, plus or minus 3.9 days. This is just giving us an inclination of very severe cases that had hospital stays, not necessarily the duration of how long they were symptomatic, but how long they were critical. Now, moving on to this paper, we're going to go a little more in depth. This one is a retrospective comparison that grouped Omicron variants into an early phase and a later phase. The later phase is the one we're interested in. So there's 965 patients that were hospitalized during the early phase of Omicron, and then 897 patients that were hospitalized during the later phase, where the recombinant sublineages of BQ.1 and XBB1.5 occurred in the second half of 2022. So this is days to clinical improvement, and this is early Omicron, this is late Omicron. So in early Omicron, you had people sort of taking longer to be discharged from the hospital. It's slightly shortened in the late Omicron period, where more patients were discharged from the hospital after 7 days of hospitalization than in the early Omicron period, which is supported from that previous sentence from the other paper, which is what we like to see. But again, so the mean hospitalization in the early phase was 11.85 days plus or minus 9.15 days, so you kind of had a wider spread. But in this later phase of Omicron, you're having hospitalization for 9.34 days plus or minus 7 days. So you're having a tighter spread, but these wouldn't be statistically significantly different between each other. If you plotted them next to each other, they would be, in your end statistics, they wouldn't be different. Something that's very interesting, however, is that in the later phase, the percentage of patients with hypertension and ischemic heart disease were significantly higher than in the early phase, which is implying that people are getting sicker even if they're being able to be discharged faster. And then here's a side-by-side comparison of early Omicron versus later Omicron, and you'd be hard-pressed to really paint big differences between the two, which is again showing that the virus is not evolving to become milder. I truly believe the virus is just becoming more efficient.